Christopher with Action Figure Fury here.
And it's Anders with Action Figure Fury as well. And we've got some figures from the DC Comics Batman animated series and the new Batman Adventures line to review. We got Clayface, Bullock, the Joker, Firefly, Talia, and an anti-fire suit Batman.
Now, the cool thing is they're kind of set up. We got 3 figures from the animated series and 3 from the new Batman Adventures. And so we're going to kind of split those up. I'm going to go ahead and take Clayface, Bullock, and Talia. Those are all from the animated series.
And then I'm going to grab the Joker, Firefly, and the anti-fire suit Batman, which all come from the new animated Adventures of Batman, or something like that. I'm not as familiar with that one. But the figures look really cool, so I'm pretty excited to see what they've got.
Yeah. So basically, I'm figuring we're going to do 2 different reviews. So watch both videos, guys, and let us know what you think in the comments. To start off, I'm going to do the clamshell packaging first. Now, they're pretty typical for packaging on clamshells. I mean, not a lot different going on. You got the front with open, big visibility. You got the piece count here, title, legal stuff on the bottom. Bullock kind of blocks off his accessories. He's a big guy, you know, old-fashioned detective, lots of donuts and coffee. I'm sure you can understand and give him a break. On the side here, you got the names with the corner. And that's pretty cool. I actually like that quite a bit. And then on this side, you have the title with the figure number. On the back, they kind of throw the graphic up again, which if you look at Talia here, you can see the graphic through the front. So they put it on the back again, just kind of reverse colors. I don't know why. I think they should have put some pictures, but whatever, not a big deal. And then they have the legal stuff on the bottom. So like I said, there's not a lot bad or good about these packages. You know, they're just clamshells and, you know, nothing too crazy there. Clayface, though, was in a box, and I thought that was awesome. I mean, it's got this huge open window, which was fantastic. There is some damage done right here that was sent to us, so if you're having them delivered to you, just keep an eye out for that kind of thing. Otherwise, just got the title, the legal stuff, the window. On this side, you have his text on this kind of corner, and then you got the sculpt credit there. Over here you got the title, another graphic, you know, nothing too special. And then the back was pretty disappointing on Clayface. If you look at it, there's all this empty space they could have done something with and had their graphic they seem to love so much. But instead they just rocked that graphic. At least they're consistent though, right? And then you got the legal stuff here. So the bottom is blank. The top has the Batman animated series title. Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. Alright guys, here's Clayface out of the packaging, and he's freaking awesome. Easily my favorite out of all of the ones I've reviewed today, and even the ones I reviewed a few months ago. I am so happy with the way he turned out. He does have some small things, you know, that I would change, but nothing big. Let's go ahead and start off with his paint and his sculpt. The only thing paint-wise, I'm just going to say this, it's one color other than the face. So good job on not spilling over the same color, I guess. Or maybe they did, and you just can't tell, right? The face, though, as far as paint goes, is awesome. You can see his yellow teeth doesn't spill over at all, and it looks great, that bright yellow color. His eyes with the dark lines around the yellow, just fantastic job. Now, we'll get into the sculpt where most of this is actually going to be talked about. His head's made out of a soft plastic, which I thought was a pretty creative way to keep that clay look going. The rest of him is all hard plastic, but I mean, that's a really cool addition to the face. I love the way his teeth are all uneven, like he's got some serious need for some braces. Awesome sculpt on the lip and the mouth. He's just got this massive mouth. Really good job, guys. As far as the rest of him goes, I like that wherever he has a little bit more detail into him, it almost looks like the clay is drying out. So his body looks very moist and like it's moving down. And then you have his arm, which right where the hand gets and where his joints are, it looks like the clay is dried out a little bit more so that he can get motion out of it. I thought that was a really cool addition to how they did this sculpt. And I love, just look at that detail in the way that the clay is kind of moving constantly, or it's dried out in the arms. And in the back, you can almost see these like shoulder pads. I think that's fantastic. Really good job on sculpting the way the clay looks. The only places that there's some extra detail for sculpt is like in his hand, where he's kind of got this claw looking thing, and it just looks freaking fantastic. like he's going to choke you out or do some damage. Both of them look really, really quite good, and they're actually, I believe, the same on both. Yeah, they look a lot alike at the very least. So really good job on the sculpt. His feet are these tiny little things with these stubby little notches, and the feet are actually different on both. The toes are slightly different, and that was a cool addition. Really great job with the sculpt, guys. I was very happy with it. I mean, I can't really brag about the paint more than just the face, but the sculpt has high marks for sure, like a 5, easily a 5. As far as articulation goes for this figure, guys, I mean, he's got one small problem, but for the most part, he's pretty cool. His head can rotate 360 degrees. You don't get anything else out of it because it's made out of soft plastic, but it's still pretty good. His shoulders can go out only about that far, and you can rotate them to get more like the rest of the figures, but he's pretty stiff in the shoulders, so just be careful there. He does have double jointed elbows, so you can get his arm to bend in about that far, and if you rotate it 360 degrees, you can get it about that far back. The double jointed elbow was a really nice addition though. I was pretty surprised and pretty happy with that. As you can obviously see, he's also got ab crunch. Be careful how hard you push him down, guys. You can see those marks right there. That was because I was trying to get a fuller range and it just kind of made a mark there. Rookie mistake, but it's my job to show you guys what happens. So only about that far forward, not even really a crunch, but he can go about that far back, which is awesome. And I think the reason they did that was because he's got these tiny little feet, and so he's hard to balance without that ab crunch. So it was really helpful as far as like posing the figure to have that ab crunch. Really cool job. So the upper half of his body is pretty impressive as far as articulation goes, and the part I'm disappointed in is actually the bottom half. So we'll start with his hips. He can go about this far with the splits. Now, and one thing I forgot, I just want to quickly mention, he can rotate 360 degrees in his abs as well. So that's awesome. But back down here, like I said, he can go about that far as the splits. Not quite Talia or Bullock level splits, which is surprising because he doesn't have bones. But, you know, it's still pretty good. He's just got these small feet, so they didn't have a lot of options. The knee is non-existent. There is no knee joint, which is my biggest problem with his articulation. No knees at all. But I can forgive it because of how small his legs are. I kind of understand. And you can rotate his feet 360 degrees, and that's it. That's all of the bottom articulation you get. He can go forward, I guess, about that far, and back about that far. But that's it, guys. That's all you get. And that's not really a huge problem, you know, but I wish that there would have been some kind of knee articulation, but it's not enough to ruin the figure for me. All right, guys, so as far as accessories go, I really like the accessories they included. There are only 4 of them, but the ones they have are awesome. So I'm going to start off with this alternative face. I love the open mouth. You can really see the detail in the teeth now that it's open, and the anger in his eyes. I love that they sculpted like a brow. Really cool job with that. I was really quite happy with the alternative face, and you don't typically get those with these kinds of figures. So that was a really nice inclusion. Then you got this clay axe that he makes, and I thought that was freaking awesome. I love the way it looks, very much so like the show, and awesome job. It's pretty basic. There's not a lot to like say. Look at the detail on the axe. It's just a clay axe, but it's very cool nonetheless. You also have this hook that he has, which is awesome. That's from the show a lot. I mean, it looks like it could do some massive damage. Very horror movie-esque. I'm really happy with that as well, and I love the detail in this clay. They did a great job with this sculpt. And my favorite accessory is this like mace, you know, this chain and stuff. I thought that was going to be stiff. I thought they were going to like hold it like that and you wouldn't actually be able to move it around, but it's a loose chain. Like you can actually move this accessory around. So really good detail on the spikes. It looks like it would really hurt. Like fantastic job. I was just super stoked on this figure altogether. Clayface is one of my favorite Batman villains. I feel like he's super underused. And just the fact that they gave you these 3 alternative hands and arms really made him stand out to me, you know, and the alternative face is just great as well. So really happy with him. I think he's a must-have figure, probably the one I would buy first if I was going to collect this series. Alright guys, so here's Talia out of the package, and I gotta say I'm a little disappointed in her. She seems really bland at first glance. We'll see if that holds true. Let's go ahead and start with sculpt and paint. So if you look here at her face, she's got a pretty cool sculpt. I like the way they did her hair halfway down her, in her face. And it's made of this soft plastic, so she's got a full face sculpt and paint. And I thought that was way cool. Her hair looked great. I think it looks just like the show, as far as I remember. Her paint's pretty cool on her face. You can see they did great lines. There's no splotching. I like the white teeth with the red makeup. Her eyes are very cool. Overall, that's like the coolest part of the paint. I do also like that inside of the collar, they have this little white strip, and that's rad. That's like the only place that they did some like surprising detail that I wasn't expecting. So it was kind of nice to find that. And I do like the sculpt as well. If you see right here, she's got a little dimple in her collar. And I thought that was right where her collarbone is. That was way cool. Otherwise, the paint is bland the rest of the way. There's two colors, purple and gray. There's very clean. There's no splotching. But, I mean, it's just purple and gray. There's nothing else there, and that's fine. But there's nothing great about it. As far as the sculpt goes, you can see she's got her open hands that she starts with. She comes that way, and they look pretty good. Nothing crazy cool, nothing terrible. And the belt has some, little details on there. I do like that they show like the line going down on some of the pouches. I wish that the paint on it had like a different color for the buckle. I do wish that they'd sculpted the holster in a way that you could open up, put the gun in there. I know that Firefly has a holster that you can put his gun in. So I was a little bit jealous that Talia didn't. Otherwise, it goes around the leg, and that's cool. That's all right. I do like that she has these heels, That way she's like an assassin with heels. I think that's kind of awesome. Otherwise, like I said, the sculpt and the paint, it's really all in the face. Otherwise, there's nothing else that really stands out to me. As far as the articulation goes, her head can rotate 360 degrees. It can tilt a little bit to the side, swivel, sorry, to a little bit to the sides, but not much. And it can tilt down an impressive amount. I mean, I thought that was pretty good, but it can't tilt up. The hair blocks it, and it blocks the swivel on the sides as well. You can see her hair sits on her shoulders. Now the shoulders can go up about that far, and they can rotate 360 degrees. So I guess you could rotate it the rest of the way like this, and then you can get them up even higher. But it does look a little weird with her shoulder being in her elbow. Kind of odd. You can rotate her elbows 360 degrees, and you can bend them in about this far, and much like the shoulders, if you rotate them, you can get them back about that far. Otherwise, if you don't rotate them, they don't go back really at all. Her hands, they can rotate 360 degrees, and they can tilt down about that far and tilt back about that far. So that's all right. That's pretty typical for these figures to have that kind of articulation in the hands and arms. Her legs can go about that far forward and about that far back. Not too impressive. I wish they would have given you a little bit more range, because she can't really sit. As you can see here, she can do some mad crunches. She can just pump those out. But she is never going to be able to sit up. And I think it's mostly due to this belt right here. It actually stops. You can see the little mark that it's making right there. It stops her from going up any farther. And that kind of sucked. Her knees, and see there's no rotation either in the legs, but they can also go about that far out. So she can do some mad splits, as I imagine the show has shown a couple million times. She can do crazy splits. Her knees can't rotate at all, much like her hips, but they can go back about this far. Be careful when you very first bend them, because they're very thin. You can see that joint's kind of small, and I'm just worried that I might have broken it, and I didn't, but I'd just be careful if I were you. It doesn't go forward at all. It gets blocked by the kind of joint they have. Her feet cannot rotate. Oh, actually, yeah, they can rotate, or at least it feels like they might be able to. I feel like I'm going to break it, so just maybe don't. But her heels can be tilted back about that far and up about that far, so that's pretty good, but it can't rotate, and there's no swivel. Overall, I'd say her articulation's pretty standard. Nothing that impressive, nothing to be frowned on other than the fact that she can't really sit up. But she's pretty good for the most part on articulation. So, yeah, I'd give it about, a decent score, 3.5. As far as Talia's accessories go, the bland only gets worse. I mean, there's not really any accessories. She's got her open hands she comes with, gun hands, and a closed fist. And the gun itself that she comes with, there's only one, and it's just a black, basic, carved-out gun. There's not really even a trigger. They have this little carved-out piece there. But otherwise, it's very basic, and it's not impressive in any way. It's just a plain little gun. And her gun hands, I did have one small problem with. If you look here, this thumb is not attached. It's open. You can actually bend it out of the way. Whereas with this hand, I'm not sure if this is how they all came, if it was on purpose or an accident, but the thumb and the pinky are painted together or actually physically attached. I don't know. But you can't really fit the gun very well into this hand. It's kind of hard, and I feel like I'm going to rip those fingers apart, and then it's going to look jagged and weird. But the gun does fit in the other hand. And it doesn't fit really great. It does look a little weird once it's in the hand, like it's tilted down a little bit. And I guess you could kind of straighten it out, but that looks weird as well. And since the hands don't have any swivel, you can't really correct the way that's going to look when it's on the figure. And I'll take some photos with her holding it, and we can see if that proves true. Otherwise, I think it just looks super weird. And maybe she's supposed to hold the gun like this, and that looks a little bit more normal. But it just seems odd to me that that's where it is, since the little carved out trigger's on the other side. So it's up to you how you really want to put it together. But I think it looks just weird altogether. This is another reason why I wish you could put the gun in a holster, because I feel like at least that would look natural. Her other pair of hands are just your basic, fists. Nothing incredibly special about them, nothing bad. They're just balled up fists for beating up on Batman. She does come with this paperwork as well. One of them is just how to set up the stand, and on the other side it shows how to pull the hands in and out, and the little puppet guy, I forget his name, I think it's Scarface, maybe. But it shows you how to put him on his guy, and I don't have that figure, so it kind of seems weird that they put that in there. And this one is the other figures in the set, and like a little poster that you can put up if you want. I wouldn't personally. It's a little small and kind of has big crease lines, but it's nice that they include it. Why not? They're going to include paperwork every time. So overall for Talia, she's pretty bland. I'm going to give her a 3. That's pretty generous considering that some of the problems she had, like not being able to sit up and the accessories being so bland and boring. However, I just feel like for the most part, she's average. The paint was good, and her articulation wasn't bad in any way other than just not being able to sit up. So I'm going to give her 3, and you guys can let me know if you think I'm crazy in the comments. So here is Bullock out of the packaging, and my lord, I have to say, they really wanted him to stay in there. Like, they strapped him in a ton. It took forever to get him out. Maybe that's just first world problems, but he looks pretty cool. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with Bullock at first glance. But let's go ahead and just jump right into the sculpt and the paint. So I love they have this hat on here and that the top is made out of this semi-soft plastic. I think that looks really cool. I love the way they sculpted him so that his hair peeks out underneath. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I think it looks pretty cool. I love his face. He's got this like smirk on, and I think that's great, almost like a glare. His tiny ears, he just looks like that cop. They did a great job, like I said, on the hat, the way it's sculpted. The paint's all very crisp and clean. I love the way they did the eyes, kind of like their bags under him, or like he's wearing eyeliner. I thought that was fantastic. Really high marks on this face sculpt and paint. Awesome job. I do really like the sculpt on the shirt and jacket. The jacket is made out of this soft plastic, on the bottom at least, or it kind of carries through the whole thing. Not on the sleeves though, that's hard. I do wish that the tie was soft plastic. That's not really so much me complaining, as much as it would have been cool if you could have the tie be lifted up or moved around, or even as like a separate accessory where you could switch it out to be like a mustard stained one, you know, where he had like a dirty shirt. I do love that they sculpted his shirt kind of coming untucked. I thought that was rad. That's a really cool attention to detail. I thought it was fantastic. I love that the tie for his trench coat is, you know, able to be moved around. I almost think you could tie it. I'm not going to try because I feel like I'd break something. But I mean, super good job on the sculpt there on the jacket, guys. Fantastic. You can see that it's split in the back like this for the legs. I'm pretty in love with the way they sculpted him. You can see that they did some good detail work on his pants too. You know, yeah, there's a lot of joint marks on it, but there's also some like good lines for creases, and like it's a little bit baggy on his feet. I liked that quite a bit. His feet are pretty small, but I feel like that's typical for this series. Like all the figures have really small feet, so not really a complaint so much as just a note that he has some small feet. You can see he starts off with these closed fists, which have a pretty cool sculpt. You know, I love the way they did hands in the animation, and they stuck to that pretty well in the figures. So overall, with the sculpt and the paint, I'm pretty happy with it. Once again, really crisp lines. I don't know if they just did a different batch, or if the first time I reviewed this set, I had a really bad batch of paint. But this is very impressive so far with the crisp lines. I'm really happy with this figure in particular, his paint and sculpt. I think he looks amazing. As far as articulation goes, guys, I'm pretty happy with the way they did Bullock's articulation. You can see his head can rotate 360 degrees. Just be careful. His head pops off very easily. That might just be my figure, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Comes off pretty easily. You get some slight swivel side to side. It's pretty good, actually, for a figure like this. And you do get a good amount of tilt down and a decent, well, not really. I mean, he pretty much just looks straight. You know, at first I thought he kind of tilted up pretty well too, but it's just kind of contrast from how far you can look down. And see, there you go. See, the head came off there. So just be super careful with that, guys, because his head might just fall off and get lost down a vent or something. His shoulders can go out about that far, and if you rotate them, they can go up even farther, just like pretty much the rest of these figures. They're all like that, and they can meet his body really well, which is nice. His elbows rotate 360 degrees, and they can go in about that far, kind of doing like a pose there. And they don't go out unless, again, you rotate it, and then it goes about the same distance out. A little bit less because his sleeve is longer on that side. Now, his hip, he can actually rotate 360 degrees. He's really stiff, and with the soft plastic trench coat, it makes it kind of awkward to get in there and do it. But as you can see, as you start to rotate him, you can see this line forming in his shirt. As I rotate it more and more, and it stresses that plastic. So just, I wouldn't. You can do a little bit, and that's all you really need. But you can rotate him 360 degrees. I did it once already, and I just don't want to ruin his shirt. So his splits that he does, because of the soft trench coat, you can actually get him all the way split. He rivals Talia. For a big man, that's pretty impressive. You can move his foot about that far forward, and with the trench coat being soft plastic, you can move it about that far back, which is nice. I like that range of motion. It's pretty good. There is no rotation as far as the leg at the hip joint. The knee doesn't have any rotation either, but you can bend it back about that far, and you cannot bend it forward. So you get a little bit of motion. All said and done, his leg can be bent back, knee and hip about that far. His feet, I think they have the potential to rotate 360 degrees. Because he's got the pants a little bit big for him, they don't. They get blocked. And you could probably pull out his foot and kind of move it around, but I don't see a reason to do it. You don't really need much more than this as far as balancing him goes. There's no swivel on the foot either. And there's no tilt. You can't move it back or forward. So that's some pretty basic articulation, but they had really good articulation on the head. And I do like that you can rotate his hip. I thought that's nice. And the fact that they sculpted in the soft plastic trench coat really helped the range of movement quite a bit. I thought that was a really smart choice for this figure especially. Alright, so the accessories of this figure are pretty awesome. They didn't include the hot dog with mustard, which kind of sucked for me, but they did include donuts, so that's rad. So go ahead and starting off with the shotgun here. I think it is freaking awesome. I love the old school animated look to it, like the big round barrel, the way they actually sculpted the grip and painted the inside of it a different color. That is the attention to detail I wish they would have thrown Talia's way. But it's awesome that they did it with Bullock. I love the stock. The whole look of this shotgun, really, the sculpt-wise, is just top-notch. And the paint is pretty cool as well. I mean, there's really only 3 colors, but, I mean, it's still much better than what they did for Talia, and I'm very happy with it. If you look here, they did include some handcuffs with an actual chain, and that is so cool. I was happy they did that. I didn't see it through the packaging. Like I said, Bullock's a big figure, and he blocked out a lot of that visibility. But, I mean, how awesome is a pair of handcuffs like this? I wish they would have put on a way that you could actually attach it to Bullock, like on his belt line or something like that. But that's not really a big deal. And I was trying to put it into some of his hands earlier, and none of them hold the handcuffs all that well. And I'll show you what that looks like in some photos in the article. But I'm really happy they included the handcuffs. I thought that was a great addition to the figure. Here are the donuts, and as you can see, one of them has this bite taken out of it, which is so cool. And I love the full one as well. I like that they're chocolate covered. And this is kind of going on to what I said earlier, though. I do wish they had done like some stains on a shirt, like a chocolate stain or something like that. It would have been really cool with these donuts. That would have been an awesome way to kind of tie them into it. But I'm really glad they included food of some kind, because that's just what I remember from Bullock in the show in my childhood, is him just stuffing food into his face and looking like kind of like a gross pig. Get it? Pig? So the hands, I showed you his closed hands on him when he did the sculpt and the paint. But here are the hands meant for the shotgun. It's kind of hard to get them in there right. Once it's on there, they look fine. It looks good. But it's just kind of an interesting way to build the hand to get it on there. Otherwise, I think they look quite awesome. I do, like I said before, love the way they made hands look in the show, and they really kept true to that with sculpting these hands. These ones are the ones I would use for the handcuffs, and they definitely work for the donuts as well. Otherwise, you know, they're just a kind of half-open hand, and you can use them to hold the stock of the shotgun as well, or not the stock, the barrel of the shotgun. But, I mean, it works out fairly well either way, whether you use those hands or these ones for it. They're pretty versatile, and I love the way they look. So, overall, with the accessories, I'm pretty happy with Bullock. I would go ahead and give him like a 4. I mean, really good job, guys. I love what they included. Bullock is a must-have for this series. If you like Batman the Animated Series, you know, you have to get Bullock. He's an awesome figure. All right, guys, so all in all, I think the figures were pretty awesome altogether. I mean, the original Batman Animated Series figures were pretty cool. I really like Bullock. I really like Clayface. Talia, on the other hand, was kind of disappointing for me. All around, she was fairly bland, and especially compared to the other two, she just wasn't that fantastic. I would say overall, though, the paint across the board for mine was phenomenal. I think I'd probably end up giving this my trio a 4 out of 5.
So I really liked the figures from the new Batman Adventures. Surprisingly enough, the anti-fire suit Batman was the weakest. I kind of felt like the sculpt was a little bit off. They got a little lazy with the paint on his gun. But I thought Firefly was really cool. They did a great job with the paint there. Great paint all across the board, actually, especially on the Joker. Joker figure's the standout. If you're going to get one of the 3 of the figures, you would absolutely have to get the Joker. He's got hyenas, he's got a gun, he has a super articulated head. Really awesome figure. Firefly's worth picking up too. Anti-fire suit Batman, it depends. If you're a fan of Batman, if you like the design, go for it. Otherwise, I think he just looks a little bit weird. And I'd say get Clayface too, because he's awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about Clayface. I was a little bit jealous that he got Joker, honestly.
But you got Clayface,
yeah,
so I think that makes up for it, because they're both rock stars. If you're going to get 2 figures from the set, get those ones. They're awesome.
Yeah, fantastic choices. And honestly, all around, I think this series is worth collecting, because, I mean, the original series is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. And make sure, guys, to let us know what you think in the comments, or if you've collected these and had some opinions, lay those down too. We want to know.